By late 1944, the Allies had pushed through France and Belgium and were poised to enter the heart of Nazi Germany. The war, which had raged across Europe for over 5 years, was approaching its climax, but German defences remained formidable along the western frontier. From fortified cities to dense forests and treacherous river crossings, the Allies faced some of the toughest challenges yet as they sought to bring an end to Hitler's regime. This period saw a series of decisive battles that would determine the final fate of the Third Reich. Cities like Aachen fell only after intense urban combat, while the dense Hurtgen forest and the freezing Ardennes became deadly proving grounds for American and Allied troops. The Battle of the Bulge marked Germany's last desperate offensive, aiming to split Allied lines and slow their advance, yet it ultimately hastened the collapse of the German army. From crossing the Rhine River to encircling the industrial heart of the Ruhr Pocket, the western frontier battles showcased the Allies' strategy, perseverance, and coordination. Each engagement chipped away at Nazi defences, exposing the exhausted and overextended German forces and paving the way for the final push into central Germany. In this video, we examine the key battles along the western frontier that broke the last lines of the Reich, revealing not only the strategic and military significance of each engagement, but also the human courage, hardship, and determination that defined the final months of World War II in Europe. The Battle of Aachen marked a historic moment in World War II as the first major German city to fall to Allied forces. Located near the Belgian border, Aachen had been heavily fortified and symbolized the perceived invincibility of the Nazi homeland. Capturing it was both a strategic and psychological milestone for the Allies. Urban combat in Aachen was intense and brutal. American forces faced fierce resistance from German troops who defended buildings, streets, and strongpoints with machine guns, artillery, and snipers. House-to-house fighting slowed the advance, testing the skill, coordination, and determination of the Allied soldiers. After days of grueling combat, Aachen finally fell to the Allies. The city's capture shattered Nazi propaganda about the impenetrability of German territory and opened the door for further advances into the Rhineland and deeper into Germany. Beyond its strategic importance, Aachen demonstrated the harsh realities of urban warfare and foreshadowed the challenges the Allies would face as they approached the heart of the Third Reich. The Battle of Hurtgen Forest was one of the longest and bloodiest engagements fought by US forces in Europe during World War II. Located along the Belgian-German border, the dense, rugged forest presented a nightmare for soldiers, offering the Germans a natural defensive advantage. Allied troops faced relentless challenges: heavily mined paths, concealed machine gun nests, artillery fire, and the ever-present threat of ambush. Progress through the forest was slow and costly, with brutal winter weather compounding the soldiers' hardships. The battle tested endurance, coordination, and morale as the Allies pushed against deeply entrenched German positions. After months of intense combat, the Allies eventually captured the Hurtgen forest. However, the victory came at a high price, with thousands of soldiers killed or wounded. The battle delayed subsequent Allied plans to advance further into Germany, illustrating the immense cost of penetrating Germany's fortified frontier and the determination of the defending forces. The Hurtgen Forest campaign stands as a sobering reminder of the brutal realities of war in difficult terrain and the sacrifices required to achieve strategic objectives on the Western Front. The Battle of the Bulge was Germany's final, desperate offensive on the Western Front. Launched in the Ardennes region of Belgium, Luxembourg, and bordering Germany, the operation aimed to split Allied lines, capture key ports, and buy time for Germany to stabilise its collapsing front. The attack caught the Allies by surprise, creating a bulge in the front lines and plunging the region into chaos. Bitter winter weather, dense forests, and fierce resistance made the fighting exceptionally brutal. American, British, and Belgian forces faced encirclement, yet they held critical positions despite significant casualties. After weeks of intense combat, the Allies regrouped and counterattacked, ultimately repelling the German forces. The failure of this offensive depleted Germany's remaining manpower and resources, leaving the Nazi army weakened and unable to mount further large-scale operations. The Battle of the Bulge stands as a testament to the resilience and determination of Allied forces. It not only marked the last major German offensive, but also signalled that the end of the Third Reich was imminent, setting the stage for the final Allied push into Germany. The crossing of the Rhine was a pivotal moment in the Allied invasion of Germany. The Rhine River, a formidable natural defence, had long been a symbol of German strength. Crossing it required careful planning, coordination, and bravery, as German forces defended the river with entrenched positions and artillery. Allied operations included Operation Plunder and Operation Varsity, combining amphibious assaults with airborne drops. At key locations such as Remagen, Ludendorff Bridge, and Wessel, troops executed daring manoeuvres to secure bridgeheads under heavy fire. Engineers worked tirelessly to repair or construct bridges while infantry and armoured units pressed forward, overcoming German defences. The successful crossing allowed Allied forces to advance rapidly into Germany's heartland. It demonstrated the effectiveness of combined arms operations and highlighted the determination of the Allies to dismantle the remaining German military infrastructure. The Rhine crossing symbolized the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany, breaking a major defensive line and opening the path for subsequent operations, including the encirclement of the Ruhr and the push into central German cities. The Ruhr Pocket represented one of the final and most decisive engagements on the Western Front. Located in Germany's industrial Ruhr Valley, this region was critical to the Nazi war effort, housing factories, supply depots, and a significant concentration of German troops. Allied forces executed a carefully coordinated encirclement, trapping over 300,000 German soldiers and systematically neutralizing the enemy's capacity to resist. Mechanized units, infantry, and artillery worked in unison to tighten the noose around the pocket, leaving German forces with little room to maneuver. The capture of the Ruhr Valley not only eliminated a substantial portion of Germany's remaining army, but also destroyed one of its key industrial hubs, crippling production and logistics. The surrender of the Ruhr Pocket marked a major turning point, hastening Germany's overall collapse and weakening its ability to mount any further organized defense. This battle exemplified the combination of strategic planning and overwhelming force, demonstrating how the Allies systematically dismantled Germany's ability to continue fighting. The Ruhr Pocket remains a key moment in understanding how the final Western Front campaigns contributed directly to the fall of the Third Reich. As Allied forces advanced from the west, they rapidly moved into central Germany, encountering scattered resistance as the Nazi regime began to collapse. Key cities like Hanover, Leipzig, Frankfurt, and Stuttgart became focal points for these final engagements. Despite sporadic pockets of German soldiers, the Allies faced less organized opposition than in previous months. Urban combat, artillery bombardments, and coordinated infantry movements enabled rapid progress through central Germany. American and British forces systematically captured towns, transportation hubs, and strategic positions, further destabilizing German defenses. These battles were crucial for linking the Western Allied forces with the Soviet Red Army, advancing from the east, ensuring that Germany was surrounded and cutting off any possibility of regrouped resistance. The operations demonstrated not only the effectiveness of combined Allied strategy, but also the sheer exhaustion and disintegration of the German military at this stage of the war. The push into central Germany helped seal the fate of the Third Reich. It highlighted the importance of momentum, coordination, and relentless pressure, bringing the Allies closer to the ultimate objective: total victory in Europe. While not part of the Western frontier battles, the Battle of Berlin was the climactic assault on Nazi Germany from the east. Soviet forces advanced relentlessly into the German capital, encountering intense urban combat, entrenched defences, and desperate resistance from remaining German troops. The fall of Berlin marked the definitive end of the Third Reich. Soviet troops captured key government buildings, including the Reichstag, while Hitler's final days unfolded in the Führerbunker. This monumental battle culminated in the unconditional surrender of Germany, signalling the conclusion of World War II in Europe. The battles along the German frontier from late 1944 to 1945 were pivotal in bringing World War II to an end. From the fierce urban combat in Aachen, the deadly slog through the Hurtgen forest, to the last desperate German offensive in the Battle of the Bulge, these engagements showcased the resilience, strategy, and determination of the Allied forces. The successful crossing of the Rhine, the encirclement of the Ruhr Pocket, and rapid advances through central Germany shattered Germany's last defensive lines. These operations revealed the exhausted state of the German military and hastened the collapse of the Nazi regime. Together, the frontier battles in the west, combined with the Soviet advance from the east, sealed Germany's fate, ensuring that Nazi control would crumble and allowing Europe to move toward peace. These final campaigns exemplify the strategic and human dimensions of war, demonstrating how relentless pressure, careful planning, and courage can decisively alter the course of history.